Welcome back, everybody. This is On the Perf Podcast. Riser and Maxwell coming at you once again, as always, brought to you by Atlas Gunworks. I haven't been shooting a whole lot lately. I have had some crazy stuff going on in my personal life, which took me away from a couple matches. Teaching a match this weekend, but I get to play around with the new Atlas pistol this weekend. I got my hands on a little Nix pistol, like a little 4.25 kind of carry gun size. And it's really, really interesting. I didn't think I was going to like it. It was kind of like, hey, we have this. Do you want to use it for the class? And I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. And it's kind of rad. So there will be a video coming up about that thing here on my YouTube channel after the class. So probably sometime next week. So keep your eyes out for that. And you'll have a good idea of what a little tiny Glock 19 size double stack 1911 feels like, because it's not what I expected at all, and it's really interesting. Mr. Maxwell, who else are we brought to you by?
Briley Manufacturing.
Woo!
Big into all of the things action shotgun related. Definitely the most progressive gun builders, modifiers right now in the shotgun space. Like I said, we're in the off season now of shotgun stuff, but yeah, we're building up the road. The road to Greece continues. We're building up the gun that we're going to take there. So I have a fresh gun that I have to relearn all my chokes. I actually have new chokes, so I had them send me the comp chokes with that gun.
Nice.
So I have to repattern everything. The comp chokes actually are timed. So the compensator free spins on there.
I was wondering about that.
So when you spin it all the way onto your gun, because every thread is a little bit different, you essentially thread it onto your gun, and then you clock the compensator to the orientation that you want. Essentially, then you hit it with the red Loctite and lock it in place there. So I have all those teething issues to work out on my new old M2. Which is funny because the newest gun in my inventory is probably the oldest one. But I can tell just by looking at it, some duck hunter had it and shot.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's probably seen 100 rounds in its entire life.
Yeah, it's seen
like half of a match worth.
Yeah, it's seen a lot of gun cases and not a lot of shells, I don't think.
That's a great combination to have in a used gun.
Yeah. Between
a lot of cases and not a lot of shells. Between
that and brokering some guns for some friends of mine, yeah, like number of shotguns in my inventory like doubled over the weekend. So,
I mean, it happens to the best of us. I
think I might need another safe. Like I may
for sure need another safe.
I may be outgrowing my current safe capacity. Just because, like, a kitted out rifle now takes up so much space. When they say it's a 42 gun, gun safe, bullshit.
Yeah,
bullshit. 42 over
lever actions with no scopes on them. Maybe.
Yeah. 42 lever actions and over unders. Maybe you can fit in there.
Yeah, Take whatever the number is online and at least chop it by a third.
Yeah,
like. You're going to get 30% of the gun capacity that you think you are. But I'm very excited. My safe looks like straight up like Jason Bourne because my wife has dual citizenship. So there are, passports from multiple countries, a bunch of guns, a bunch of suppressors. Like it's pretty awesome.
The one I use the most, mine looks like Jason Bourne 2 because it's got all that Hunter Constantine cash in it.
Yeah, just like fat stacks of cash.
Yeah,
all shrink wrapped.
Yeah. And I got so tight for space that I started stacking guns on top of the cash now. The guns are accumulating faster than the cash, which is
awesome.
Which is a good problem to have.
When I was growing up, there was a dude who lived down the road from us. Ed was his name. Ed was awesome. So Ed had this like little steel fab shop where he would like fix everybody's tractors and stuff. and I grew up in the middle of nowhere. I was on a farm 5 miles outside of a 500-person town, so we were in the sticks. So Ed had a safe that he built himself, and it was like lined with probably asbestos or something to make it like fireproof. He'd welded the whole thing. He had bought like a big dial lock from somebody, built this like massive safe himself. This thing was like, I could lay down on the floor of it. That's how big it was. So, you know, like 3 feet long. And, but Ed's...
So like a normal safe.
Like a normal safe, yeah. So, but Ed's way to secure this safe was he had rolls of quarters. And I mean, I don't know how many, but like the whole floor of this entire safe, and probably like 6 or 7 rolls deep for like height wise, and then however many rolls of quarters it takes to use up the depth of a safe. So, you know, whatever that is, just picture like 5 feet by 3 feet by 8 inches of solid quarters. And he's like, yep, if anybody wants to steal this thing, good luck, because it weighs like 4,000 pounds. So he just had all the guns stacked on top of all the quarters. I was like, Ed, why don't you just bolt it to the floor? It seems so much easier. But yeah. Anyways, yeah, I also need a new safe. Mine is all of the organizational racks have long been torn out of it. It is just guns leaning against other guns. I just need a safe in the back room that's like the guns that I don't use very often. So then the safe in the front next to the reloading bench can be the guns that I do use. I think that's the move. I think that the 2 safe move is the move.
At one time, that was kind of the system I had, that the working guns were in one and like the rest of them were in the other. But then I ran out of space and they both just kind of are full.
Yep. So you need a 3rd safe.
Well, really, I'm kind of in the situation that in the 3 to 5 year plan there will be a vault room potentially.
I want a vault room so bad.
But the question is like, do we invest in a safe before then, or do we just ride it out?
It's to jump back to our last episode. It's sort of like, should I buy a Shadow 2 or should I save money and buy an Atlas?
It's exactly like that.
It's exactly the same question.
And the last time that I really needed a safe, you ever see the Jerry Micklick video where he does like the morning routine, like, and he has the thing with the toucan and he and then he like squeezes a bullet and it turns into a cartridge or whatever.
Oh yeah, it's so good.
Well, that's what I did the last time I needed a gun safe and one appeared. So I won one in one of those Instagram contest things.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Oh, dude, that's awesome. Hell yeah.
I'm not even exactly sure I participated in it, but a real safe did show up at my house. So
it just appeared at your house.
Yeah.
That's solid. That's solid. I now it occurred to me as I was saying that I cannot get all my guns into my safe because all of my prize table guns are still in the original packaging, just in a giant pile in the corner of my gear room. So I officially can no longer put all of the guns that I own into a safe.
Oh, you're on the Michalak plan, huh?
I am on the Michalak plan. Yeah, it's just piles now. So
we should ask him or Lena if that's true. So the rumor is, folks, the rumor is, I heard once upon a time, and this was several years ago now, but the rumor was that Jerry has never sold a prize gun.
Huh.
I find that hard to believe.
Yeah.
But the rumor was that he had never sold one.
Well, Jerry, reach out, buddy.
Which we do have. I have his number. I could just ask him, but
just ask him.
we're not that close, so it'd be like, "Hey, Jerry, yeah, we never talk, but I would be curious because, like, even to go further down the rabbit hole, like in that, it's kind of a gamble because guns go in and out of style so much. Like, if you would have won an Atlas Nemesis a few years ago, you'd have been like, oh man, that's gold, right? Like, amazing. Okay. Well, who's shooting limited now in 40? Who wants a limited 40 gun? Who's not an Atlas collector? And I think 50% of the Atlas Collector Club are on this podcast. So like, so it's like, or I think back to the one I think of when I think of a stacked prize table. We were like, the prize table was stacked. The best prize table I ever saw in my life. No, I'm just kidding. It was Task Force Dagger, the second Task Force Dagger match. That is the most stuff I've ever seen on a prize. The guns went 40 people deep. It was crazy.
That's nutty.
But I think about some of those manufacturers aren't even around anymore.
Yeah.
Trying to think of one, but there was a couple of them. They're not even around anymore, or they did like a quote unquote 3-gun model. Who would want that anymore? And like even a 3-gun model now, a 3-gun model then is not what you want for 3-gun now. Like stuff gets dated so fast.
Yeah.
Like, so it's like I sit on all of my prize guns as like an investment. No dig on Keltec. I love the Keltec guys, but if you're sitting on Keltec like LCPs and RFBs and stuff, like that's a super gamble. Is that going to be worth anything someday, or is that just going to be hot junk? Like all the guns in my family that are not mine are hot garbage. But like at the time they didn't know that. Like, oh yeah, maybe this will be worth something someday. It'll be antique collectible. The shotgun, my grandpa's shotgun that has to stay on my mom's side of the family with someone that's blood lineage to that name. That shotgun ain't worth $20, but it's grandpa's shotgun,
Yeah.
Or you could pull this old gun out of the rafters in a barn and it could be the one, like
Yeah, freaking 10 grand.
Yeah.
I have the way that I normally operate. I just hang on to a bunch of random stuff, and then every once in a while, one of my friends will be like, "Hey, man, like." So just a couple days ago, my buddy was over at the house, just like hanging out, shooting the shit, watching a movie, and he's like, "Oh, I'm thinking about buying an AR." And he's like, "What would you recommend?" And I was like, "Well, let's go see what I have in the basement." So we like go down to the basement and like start cracking open like prize table boxes. Like I'm not, selling them in my JPs or anything, but I'm like, "Oh, see what I have down here." So all I have there is like, I have like ADM rifle, like the full kitted out, like the nicest option they make off the shelf that I pulled from Nationals. So that's like $2,200,
you are
MSRP
a bastard,
rifle.
sir.
Yeah, and then I have a Desert Tech Quattro, which is pretty dope, but like
Oof.
you need to be a certain kind of person to want that. And then I had like a Keltec, what's the folding 9mm PCC thing? The Sub 2000. So I had like
that one,
like
the Sub 2000, the Glock Mag one.
Yeah.
So the Glock Mag Sub 2000, that's an example of one that is worth a lot. That same gun that takes the M&P mags, worth absolutely nothing.
Exactly. So anyway, so he's down there and he's like, "Oh, like, what do you got?" And I'm like, "Well, I have these pair of $2,000 rifles and I have this $400 folding PCC thing." I don't have anything for you, man. I don't know what to tell you. Like nothing fits. Like I want to buy an AR to shoot beer cans in the desert. Like, sorry.
I was thinking about it the other day, and like in my head, like if you were just to ask me point blank, like, do you sell a lot of guns? I would say no. I pretty much hold on to them. But I started thinking about it the other day after we did the pistol podcast, the 3-gun pistol podcast, and I remembered a gun that I completely forgot that I even had. And I started thinking about it. It's like, oh yeah, no, there are a few. And when I started working at the gun store, so when I would trade in guns for my job, you'd start to see the guns that you weren't using as liquidity. And so it's like, well, I don't want that, but there's something I want to get into. And so I pretty much I try to take guns that I'm going to keep, but if I'm not going to, I usually with relationships that I have, I usually try to flip them or trade them into something that I would keep. So pick an AR or maybe a hunting rifle. I won a hunting rifle not too long ago. I'm not going to use a bolt action hunting rifle. I flipped it into something desirable for my collection that I think would have more value. So like that's some of how like when I got asked on the podcast a couple of weeks ago about like the 5 guns I would go back in time. Well, that list is somewhat evolving because I've picked up some of those guns over the areas because I traded prize guns for them essentially.
Yeah. Yeah, I've definitely like walked past. I've downsized quite a bit at prize tables before. I think maybe the best example is I was shooting Rocky Mountain. This is like years ago now, and there was a quite nice rifle on the prize table. I don't remember what it was, but I skipped it to grab a Dillon 650, which was definitely like half the value of this rifle. But I was like, I will use that 650 starting tomorrow.
Yeah, half the dollar value, but
but like this rifle might just sit in the basement for the next 10 years. So, yeah, so I will lean very hard towards like things that I will use over like the dollar value of whatever the thing is that I'm pulling off the table. All right. Well, before we actually get on to our topic, since our topic is not whether or not to hold on to your prize table guns and what to do when your safe gets full, we need to get us a Gary. Adam, you got a Gary for us, buddy?
All right. Gary of the day is the trigger's so light that I ND'd. No, it's not. Here's why that doesn't work, people. Because you're not supposed to put your finger on the trigger until you're ready to shoot.
What's the third firearm safety rule that we've been taught since we were 4?
I get the order mixed up, but yeah, it's like it's that. But you're like, and it's such a gunfluencer thing that they're trying to articulate like how amazing the trigger is or whatnot. They're like, oh, it's so light, I was scared. Like me, I indeed like it's something that is totally implausible that I would do. It's like, nah, dude. If you have your finger on the trigger, be ready to shoot.
Yeah.
Now I don't know. I mean, there are some pretty light triggers floating around there. Like, I mean, Atlas won't commercially do a sub 2-pound trigger, I don't think, but they get down there. The thing is like, it kind of comes from olden-timey times where people are like, when people were still learning about gunsmithing and the guns weren't made out of as good of metal as they are now. Like, in the early days of 1911s, when the only hammers and sears you could get were Colt or U.S. military surplus. Those were made of a lower grade material than they're using now. So those materials wouldn't hold a trigger job as well. So it was, people were learning and exploring and / however, like they were kind of doing it on softer stuff. So, like in the world of really high refinement 1911 triggers, or really crisp AR triggers that are available, I don't know of a trigger on the market that is actually dangerous.
Yeah,
I can't think of one. Some of the PRS guys, I'm gonna wade into what I don't really know about, but like when in PRS where you have to have your bolt back because they're worried about the bolt like slam firing the gun. Okay, that to me in my not long range brain would be like, okay, that's where you need a rule that says, hey, we need our triggers to be a certain weight. But like within the realm of the action sports, I haven't really encountered very many triggers that weren't safe. So when people say that, that trigger's so light, like I practically ND every time I pull it out. That just tells me
that just means you have terrible trigger discipline.
Yeah, it tells me that you either have terrible trigger discipline, or you're not managing your trigger. You're slapping it essentially. Both of which are a noob move. Like I'm right here with my Atlas Athena, all right? Like I would have no problem taking the slack out of that gun on a loaded chamber and it not going off. It's a sub 2 pound trigger. All right? But I know where the wall is. All right? So, if you use that phrase, the trigger's so light that I ND'd, like that's a freshman statement. That's one of those things where it's like everybody sees you as a noob, like, and you can't wash it off of you. Or somebody sent us what they thought was a Gary that resulted in somebody getting hurt, and they're like, "Oh, we handed this guy a sub whatever pound trigger. Like we should never give someone a such and such pound trigger." To me, it's irrelevant what pound trigger you give to a new shooter. I give my significant other Atlas guns all the time. She knows nothing about guns, but she knows that you don't put your finger on the trigger until we're time to do the shooty things. So if you do that, you're going to avoid the problem. But that phrase, that is a Gary phrase of all Gary phrases. The trigger's so light that I ND'd.
Yeah. Maybe just learn to keep your finger off the trigger. Shout out to my buddy Rob. He's been taking a bunch of photos at our local matches here lately, and he has a very deep folder of things he caught on photos that would definitely be DQs if the RO saw it happening. And from his description, I'm guessing that he has a photo of 30% of the people on the range full sprint with their finger inside the trigger guard.
One of the NROI instructors for the RO class, he has some like that too. Like they had a year at nationals. They basically caught like every who's who of pros basically with their finger on the trigger, like running around when they weren't supposed. Like it was obvious they weren't supposed to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I said that too. Which reminds me, I forgot to tell you how I almost DQ'd in Heartland.
Oh.
Second stage.
Lay it on me, buddy.
Second stage of the match. Got a little sporty. Shot a few extra shots that I didn't plan on, and so I rolled the gun over because I load weak hand, and my follower is red, so I could see that the magazine was empty. I should have trusted myself here because this is my black Benelli, not my camo Super Black Eagle, which cannot be trusted. The Super Black Eagle cannot be trusted for really anything. Like, hide your daughters, all right? That thing will violate you. I roll this thing over, and I see the red follower, and I'm like, okay, I shot it empty. But I doubted if I had bumped the carrier release or not. So I wasn't sure if I had a shell in the chamber.
Nothing like trying to quad with a shell on the lifter.
No, it wasn't one on the lifter. The one I'm wondering if there's one in the chamber.
Okay, I get you.
So quad. Roll the gun back over and bringing it up into my shoulder. And my move for charging the chamber is pull the trigger.
Oh, you're a pull the trigger guy.
I'm pull the trigger guy.
Oh, is this because of that you're also left-handed guy and how the bolt release sits?
No, I'm just hardcore Rob Romero fan from back in the day, and that's how he did it. And the image of him, not the real Rob Romero, but the Rob Romero in the Noveski 3-Gun Outlaw videos, that's my hero, and that's how he did it.
All right, fair enough.
So
I looked at that for a quick second back in the day, and I was like, nah, that's a bad idea.
So,
I'm just going to not.
So I roll the gun back over. It's upright now. I'm bringing it up to my shoulder. It's about halfway there, and I'm like, I think I need to charge my chamber. So I pull the trigger and I go to rack it and it goes off. Tom Bush is behind me and stop. And I'm like, all right, I start unloading, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, sorry, man, wasn't in the pocket of your shoulder. And I'm like, yeah, but I hit the target. So when it went off, I hit a plate on the plate rack and it fell over.
Solid.
So I got a reshoot because I was like, well, I mean, just because of what, there's no rule about it being in my shoulder. I had it at a target and I hit that target. So,
yep.
So I'm solid.
100%. Yeah.
But
yeah, exactly.
And it wouldn't have mattered because I only got 60% at that match anyway, so I didn't improve my score.
Yeah, it would have been you would have been like, oh yeah, I got DQ'd at that match. Who knows how I would have done?
Yeah,
that would have done 90.
That would have been like
least.
150 rounds for practice for next year.
Yeah, exactly. Solid. Yeah, one day we're gonna have a DQ stories episode.
Oh yeah, I'll have to start saving those.
Yeah, we're gonna have to score them away. All right. Well, our topic for the day, now that we're 25 minutes into this episode and we haven't, we just squeaked past the Gary. Solid. All right. Our topic for the day is cross training. So I do get often questions about like, oh, how do you train for shooting outside of shooting? And they're mostly talking about like fitness and things along those lines, but there's essentially anything that you do outside of a sport that helps you at that sport, I would say qualifies as cross training. Like if you're not training for 3-gun specifically, but you're doing other things that helps you get better at 3-gun, you're cross training for 3-gun. I participate in quite a few different things. Maxwell participates in quite a few different things. I think most people do. There's not a lot of like pure 3-gunners out there that all they do is, I mean, maybe Varick. Like, he might be the only dude that I know that, like, just goes and shoots 3-gun all the time and doesn't participate in other stuff. I think the real question is whether or not those other things actually help you get better at 3-gun. So, what would you say you're doing outside of the sport of 3-gun itself that's actually helping you get better at 3-gun?
I mean, it's really easy to just go to the fitness stuff. The other sport that I do outside of the shooting sports is currently riding off-road motorcycles, dirt bikes, and I do some racing in that, but racing in like anybody west of the Dakotas wouldn't understand, but there's no BLM land over here. Okay, so racing is kind of what you have to do to ride some of these areas and some of these courses. It's kind of like shooting matches. Like the reason you shoot 3-gun is because it's the only place that you can shoot 3-gun. If you want to ride motorcycles like this, a safe and structured environment to do this in is racing. So I do some endurance racing on the side, and so I took that as a balance, and it's kind of a open perspective kind of thing, just kind of looking at another sport and breaking out that way. And then it's also my incentive to be in shape. You average heart rate of a motorcycle racer is about 190, and the races are about 2 hours long. So go ahead do the math on that. You do have to actually be in pretty good shape to do it, which is why I'm not very good at it. But it's kind of one of those it's kind of like running a marathon kind of thing. Like I do it as kind of a personal challenge, and completion is the goal. The races are 2 hours long. The courses tend to be like 7 to 10 miles long, and it's how many laps you can do in the span of those hours. And it's basically single track. Like if your bars fit through between the trees, that's wide enough. So picture riding motorcycles on hiking trails. That's essentially what we're doing. So I do some of that as a way to be in shape and a little bit of a adrenaline rush type thing outside of guns, and then also having some perspective on that sport. Honestly, I've drawn a lot of my inspiration on the match directing side from off-road motorsports. some of the run and guns. I think I was one of the first people to do a run and gun match. The format that we used is based off a motorcycle race in Austria. It's based off the Ayrsburg Rodeo. So I do cross train in that sport a little bit. And in doing some of what we'll probably get into, I actually realized that's kind of a different kind of conditioning, because we're very much in action shooting. We're very much sprint, explosive speed, precision. That's an endurance sport. So anything you have built up in the explosiveness and sprint speed side of things, that is the opposite of what you want for an endurance sport. So it's a little bit yin and yang, but outside of that, outside of any kind of shooting sports, that's what I do.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that kind of gets lost in there, because I do free ride mountain biking, which is same but different, like same deal but with no engine and going downhill. And I talked about it on Dave's podcast back in the day. Having something that you do that involves rapid decision making, I think, goes a long ways in the shooting sport. So like in moto, like you are making very quick decisions, and you're not making them based off of your weighing the pros and cons. Like a thing happens and you make a decision instantly and you hope that it's the right decision.
Yep.
And the example that I used on Dave's podcast back in the day is I used to be a river guide. And I think the thing that helped me out a lot from that was, if you're dropping into the top of a class 5 rapid and you fuck it up at like the first move, you can't just pull over to the side of the trail and stop and catch your breath. Like, you're going into that massive rapid in the wrong place. And so you have to make decisions, and they have to be the right decisions, and you have to make them very, very fast. And if you freeze up, everybody's going for a heinous swim, best case scenario. And so that, I think, helped me a lot with the very large outlaw matches where, you have some stage that might be 3 minutes long for the winning stage time, and you're 30 seconds into it and you have some horrific gun malfunction, or, you go to war on some target, or your long range is going to shit or whatever. You're in that stage until the end of it. So like, you need to put like, oh, we're in the wrong place. And like, you just need to put that behind you and move on with the rest of your stage at full send with, with all of your faculties intact. And I think that's one of the reasons why I tend to do better at the very large, very complicated matches, because I'm used to things where you've kind of already made your bed and you're going that direction whether or not you want to. So, making those decisions on the clock, being able to put a mistake behind you and just move on with, what is going to be the best thing going forward. I'm pretty comfortable in that world. So I think that, in terms of like the long-term view of it, like over the course of a long stage, and also the really rapid decision-making process for like downhill mountain bike racing, like I used to do, freeride mountain biking, like I still do, motocross stuff like Maxwell does. Things happen super fast and you have to adjust super fast. And, you're in the middle of the stage, something went wrong, you dropped a mag, now you need to, grab a different mag. Your reload is now in the same spot. You have to figure out while you're shooting these targets if you have enough rounds to get through and reload at your normal spot, or if you have to push that a position. Like, when things go wrong in the middle of the stage, I feel like just being used to making really, really quick snap decisions on the spot, I think that's super valuable in a way that people don't really think of. Yeah. I think usually when people think of like cross training, they think of like, oh, I do CrossFit and I go to the gym and, hot yoga or whatever. But like exercising your brain and letting your brain get used to rapid decision making, I think is huge.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I guess I hadn't thought about that until you just said that, but that's absolutely true. The rapid decision making, but and also vision based, like
yes, like
seeing and processing your immediate future and the options. Like it's that decision making, but also like processing those options and seeing it. Like they're very vision based activities. I think vision is probably the most undersold part of the entire sport. It's starting to get more and more popular because more and more people are talking about it, but being locked in visually, gathering information and making a decision, that's huge. And then I think also being comfortable in an adrenalized state, like having having that be your happy place, and that's a normal, comfortable place for you to be, I think is another thing. Because like my significant other, she is the exact opposite. All you have to do to get her to freeze is to make her slightly uncomfortable. Whereas like when I like things that don't even strike me as a problem. A deer jumped out in front of us the other day, and I hit it. But like, oh yeah, okay, like swerve, blah blah blah, and no big deal. It took her 15-20 minutes to calm down from that. I'm like, stimulus, reaction, solved. That kind of that neural process and normalizing that. I think I use the example sometimes of like when I'm talking to customers, a squad car goes 120 miles an hour. So they tell me. Most chiefs are not excited when are not stoked when their guys are going 120 miles an hour in their squad cars. But that's a skill set they need because they are expected to drive aggressively at 90 on the highway. So to drive aggressively at 90 and be comfortable in that environment, to be talking on the radio and managing a situation, like you can't be tapped out driving 90 on the freeway. You need to be at 80% of your skill level and be comfortable in that adrenalized state to make decisions like that. And I think a lot of the sports that both you and I do, you're somewhat normalizing being in that environment because, like we've said before, replicating match conditions is very hard to do. And replicating that specific set of match conditions, like decision making in an adrenalized state, is very hard to replicate outside of a match.
Yeah, for sure. I think of all the things that I do that help me with shooting, I think like my history as a river guide, just for the like you can't stop. Like it's not even really like the fast decision making because even in the grand scheme of like things that happen quick, like
it's the inevitability
and rapid and stuff. Yeah, it's the inevitability. It's the like the clock is running, the timer has gone off and you are now making decisions until you're done. It's more that like being comfortable with like, all right, like whatever happens is happening and you're getting no mulligans because you can't stop. Where it's like, even with climbing, like, there's certainly like, pitches that I've climbed and things that I've climbed where you're like really out there. It, like you don't have any option but to just send or take like some horrific fall. Like that's certainly happened to me, but for the most part, you're kind of you're like remaking the decision to lead out after every piece of gear you place. So a lot of times you're like, oh, let's just go out there and see what happens. But with river guiding, it was like, you'd start down and you're like, once you're sort of like past the spot where you can't pull out on rapid anymore, like this is now happening whether you wanted to or not. So I think being comfortable in that helped, but definitely like, my couple years of downhill mountain bike racing and then like all the freeride stuff I've done since then, just like blasting through the trees and like hitting some weird thing and getting squirrely and getting off your line or an animal runs out in front of you or whatever. And yeah, like, having a stimulus occur, producing an input, having it not raise your heart rate and just make your whole body freeze and just like roll through it and be like, wow, that was pretty crazy. And then just like, keep on going with your day. I should really start running like helmet cam on mountain biking stuff. 'Cause a lot of times when like something like I'll have some like crazy near miss, once I like square it up and I'm like, back to everything's like fine. And I'm like, to like rubber down on the trail, I will oftentimes start just like giggling uncontrollably from like for whatever reason. I'll just be like, oh my God, I almost died. That was crazy. And I'll just start giggling uncontrollably. And it's quite funny. But yeah, I think that of all the things that I do is probably the thing that helps the most, like getting used to that rapid decision making stuff. I think the other thing, so for me, obviously, a shit ton of climbing. I think climbing helps me in a few ways. So I haven't been climbing very much at all this year. So my wife and I got done with our trip the previous year. We climbed for like 15 months straight, and afterwards I was pretty burned out, and I just recognized, I'm like, if I just keep going, like I'm gonna start to hate climbing and I'll just quit. So I'm like, I'm gonna take some time off and I'm gonna come back into it when I'm stoked. And I'm actually like starting to get pretty stoked again. And unfortunately, I have a finger injury that occurred a couple days ago, and so it's kind of putting me up back on the couch, of course. But I definitely notice the lack of grip strength that I have from having not climbed for essentially a year. Like I've climbed a few days here and there over the course of a year.
Yeah.
But I mean, for my size, I have quite strong hands and quite strong forearms. And as that's been kind of like going away because I haven't been climbing much, I do really notice that when it comes to shooting the pistol, and I have to consciously hang on to the gun harder than I used to get the same amount of sight movement out of the gun and get the same amount of recoil control. So it definitely does make a difference. Like being stronger in the hands and the forearms for sure makes a difference shooting guns. So I think like that physical aspect of it helps, of course, but I think the mental aspect of doing things that have real consequences, like I don't do a lot of climbs where you can like legitimately get super hurt or killed, but I do enough. And it really sort of like resets your barometer for what it takes to raise your heart rate.
Mm-hmm.
So, like if you come back from an Alaska trip where, you're laying in tent at night listening to avalanches and rockfall and climbing, scary pitches and, there's spin drift and storms and all this other shit. And then you come back and like you're at stage 1 of your local match, like you don't give a shit. And I actually find that if I go shoot a match shortly after a trip with like real consequences, I actually don't shoot as well because I kind of need that a little bit. Like I need a little bit of like the give a fuck. Like if I don't care, I just don't shoot well. And so like if I come back from a big crazy trip and I'm shooting a match, I kind of don't care how I do because it's just not important anymore. It's like my barometer has been reset. But also if I don't have any of that, then I care too much. And then you kind of like spool out a little bit. So there's like a middle ground in there where I care just enough, and I don't care enough to get nervous, but I care enough to be invested in the outcome. And that's the sweet spot for me. Yeah. So if I'm doing just enough stuff in my life with real consequences, and then I'm shooting some matches where I care, like that's the sweet spot. That's where I like really start doing very good from a mental standpoint.
And I guess like I haven't thought about it that way, but I'm very similar in that like the place I want to be and that I thrive is I've touched the hot stove. I understand the stove is hot, but at the same time I kind of want my hand to be where like I can feel the heat. Like,
yeah, it's
not uncomfortable, it's not burning, but I can feel the heat. You kind of want to be in that space, because when you can operate there, yeah, like I totally relate with my barometer is very low. Like, we've gone on like boat rides and stuff like that, and you're like, oh wow, like with they boats start rocking and stuff like that, and my in-laws get excited and whatnot. I'm like, and they're like, oh, that was scary, and I'm like, what? Like I'm at a 2, like. I'm like, there is nothing this boat can do that will scare me. Absolutely nothing. Like, I'm used to being in that state. They're not, so like, it doesn't take much to get them into that state. So yeah, like being accustomed to that environment is definitely what makes, because like the difference is people who aren't used to that state and then they enter our sport, they're whatever, they do the El Pres and they miss the reload, and F, and they just like freeze, and they're like, dude, you still got 6 shots to go, like finish it, like, oh, that sucked, like they can't improvise and move on. Once it goes bad, they're just stuck there. And being able to think, adapt, and move on, like, the inevitability of some of the stuff Riser's describing. There's no mulligans except for one match. There's no mulligans in 3-gun. So, like understanding that, well, yeah, that's not as good as it could have been, but we still got to make it as good as it can be. Cause this is, you're on a collision course with whatever the score is going to be. That's definitely good. The other thing I found very recently, this hurts me a little bit to say, I play games on my phone.
All right, what, are you like Angry Birds guy or
no? So like the like the Tetris like block games where you have to again like that vision and decision making. So hand-eye coordination of seeing a place where this has to go, like the puzzle aspect of it, and like doing them rapidly. I kind of latched onto that again from Drive to Survive. You see like some of the vision and like reaction stuff they do when they're like warming up for the race. Yeah, when they're rocking
like lights and dropping tennis balls and stuff like that.
Yeah. I got really bored at a really lame show, and started doing that. And I'm like, oh, like I could feel like the exercising that mental muscle, if you will, of like, this, that goes there, that goes there, moving it around, hand-eye coordination of, this needs to, visual where that needs to go and putting it there. Any kind of the puzzle problem solving stuff, like on the fly, trying to make those problem solving decisions on the fly. That's, calling a bad shot. Do you need to shoot again?
That's a perfect example. You're leaving a position, that thing might have been a D, might have been a Mike, and I need to make a decision. Do I go back and fire another shot at it?
Yeah.
And if you freeze and be like, what should I do? Well, then you're totally screwed no matter what you do.
It's too late. Yep.
Yeah, it's too late. You need to make the decision right then. The video game thing is actually really interesting. A few years ago, Max Leograndis and I were having a conversation about this because Max is a big video game guy, or at least was then. And he was sold on like certain video games having a very beneficial skill building to shooting because of rapid decision making and hand-eye coordination. Yeah, and I mean, what the hell does he know? He's got like 5 national championships. Yeah, so clearly doesn't know what he's talking about. But I mean, we'll throw it out there just in case.
Yeah, or like, I mean, a lot of the shooting simulators don't really excite me. I even had access to a Virtua system for a long time and didn't see the value in that. Again, like the fundamental skill of vision to sight, hand-eye coordination, decision-making. I saw some value in that.
Yep.
Then there's the fitness side. The sport.
Indeed.
I've always been a fat kid. Always. Forever. As long as I played football up through junior year of high school. I was always a center or a tackle. So I've always been a big guy. And athletics was never my gift. Whatever I have now, I have fought very hard to get. Like none of it came natural to me. And the sport definitely got to a point, and I like the direction that it's gone. It's become more of an athletic sport. But as it became more athletic, I needed to be more of an athlete. And so I definitely got sat down. When I got on the Pro Series, the 3-Gun Nation Pro Series. There was actually an intervention that was had with me at the gun store. It was Mark Stevens, now of Atlas Gunworks, before he'd ever met them. But it was Mark Stevens and the manager of the store at the time. The manager, his name is Mike, and in his life, he had coached UFC fighters, or at least MMA fighters of some level. All right, so he had coached athletes. He is probably a bodybuilder, so he's big on fitness. He's pretty much the epitome of a meathead. Will give you the right idea. And I got the call for the Pro Series, and I was going to do it. And they both cornered me in the store. And they said I had started, I guess I would back up even farther. In college, I decided to start working out because we would go backcountry snowmobiling. Actually, in Logan, Utah, that's where we would go.
Woo.
But it sucks there. None of you should go there.
It's terrible. It's awful. Stay
Lots
away.
of avalanches. Don't go there.
As the saying goes, keep Utah square.
Yep. So we would go there, and being a flatlander, going up to altitude, I saw 1-for-1 benefit of having some cardiovascular fitness and having a better time on vacation. So I didn't know what I was doing, but I understood that doing something was needed. But I didn't like. I had a bad football experience. I still hate the sport of football. So I kind of checked out on like the gym. Like I would ride my bicycle 12 miles. Would be like what I would do. And so I got cornered, and they said, "Hey, you're an athlete now. You need to get in shape." And basically, like, Mark paid for my first membership to Anytime Fitness. His girlfriend was the manager at the time. He like set me out on my first program with an app and whatnot. And they like started me off on the fitness stuff. So I started like going to a gym and doing some lifting. And I did that through what so far was the climax of my career. My best year I ever had was 2017. I was doing that at the time. But then I kind of fell off again.
That was my worst year.
Oh, well, see, it was my turn.
Awesome. Good job, bud.
But when I came here to Vortex and, again, kind of, I was doing the thing without direction, kind of like I wasn't willing to like pay a trainer or anything like that. I was just kind of making it up as I go, finding some program that I could get for free kind of thing. And very recently, I latched onto In Extremis Performance. I saw them on Instagram, and they're the ones that kind of they were some of the first that really latched onto like the movement aspect of shooting, and they kind of made that their wheelhouse from a training aspect. And so I reached out to them on the professional side, talking about law enforcement stuff and whatnot. And they told me that they were essentially developing a fitness program for action shooting. And they were looking for some people to test pilot it. And I have...
I know somebody just like that.
Yeah. And I have been doing that for almost a year now, where I actually have a trainer who has a program with a direction, and he's monitoring me and stuff, and I have a nutrition guy that is coaching me on the eating and the nutrition stuff, and from a holistic approach of I'm an athlete trying to excel in this sport. What does an athlete in this sport need? And that's been I've actually been sitting on talking about it on the show because like it hasn't really finalized what it's going to be yet. I'm not sure they've actually launched it to the public yet. But going beyond, like, for a long time, when I would try to research this topic, and I would try to find like what would the ideal action shooting athlete be? What would the fitness program be? What would the direction? How would we do that? Because basically, when you talk to anybody, the few that I've talked to, when you talk to them, they either put you in lose weight or build muscle. Like there's bodybuilding and lose weight, and like those are the only two programs that I really found outside of a stick and ball sport.
Either one of those are appropriate.
Correct. And that was my frustration, is like, I'm not going to subscribe to your thing when you're not doing what I need, you know?
Yeah.
And so this is the first time in, I guess, almost 10 years of quote unquote going to the gym. Like I go 3 to 5 times a week, but if you look at me, you might not be able to tell, like, you know, you're not doing the right thing. All right. So like after about a year of like, this actually feels like I'm doing the right thing. Instead for like conditioning, it's very sprint based. It's very explosive based. A lot of it actually, I had to fight some of my demons, because a lot of this is actually like football stuff. So my trainer, actually, I think he was a D1 or a D2 like football trainer before he did this. And I'm like, you know, and when I started doing it, it was kind of like, oh, well, obviously that makes way more. Yeah, it makes sense that, yeah, we would want to do this exercise to get explosive at doing Y, at doing X. Because you're never going to go out and run 2 miles on a stage. You are going to sprint 10 feet, though. You know, so how would you build explosive speed to sprint 10 feet? That kind of stuff, like having a targeted well, and I think the tricky thing is you might sprint 3 feet. Right.
Like that's like, you know, like running, like I get up to speed very fast. So my buddy Rick and I were shooting an NRL Hunter stage, and there was like a 30 or 40 yard run from like the start line to your shooting position. And so I take off running and just like leave him in the dust. And then he just like closes in on me and was like, hurry up, man. And then afterwards he's like, yeah, you're super quick, but you're not fast. And I'm like, yes, like I'm very quick from position to position, but if we just like leg it out over a long distance, not fast.
Nope.
Like not at all. Yeah.
And same thing, like I'm too big. Like I'm too big. I was trying to lose for the last year or two. I've been trying to lose a serious amount of weight. Worked with another trainer, wasn't happy with the results. And so when I started working with an extremist and they were looking at what I was doing, I was having a problem. Was I was cutting weight, but I would have brain fade and fog. So I would be in the middle of the match. I would be on some cycle of macros. And I hit him with, dude, like how do I stay on track with my fitness goal and still perform as an athlete? And they're like, okay, well, what are you doing? And they looked at my numbers. And he's like, well, first of all, you are beyond extremely deficient in what you need. So it absolutely makes sense that you're getting brain fade because you are not fueling your body to perform on match day. Oh, okay. So like in the you know, getting back on track there's more to just to being a good shooting athlete than just, well, it would probably be good if you were in good physical shape. Like that's the most I could find like, what do you think that would be? Like, well, you know, if you were in shape, that would be better than not being in shape. Like that was the best answer I could find. And we're now like, this season, they're like, no, we need to like get you off of whatever trail you were on in fasting and cutting, and we need to get you back on some kind of track where you can perform as an athlete. So they've bulked me up a bit over the season, but now I've also gotten to a point now where I'm like, seriously, guys, I need to cut some weight. And so they're like, okay, well, when you get to the off season, we'll do that. And I'm like, okay, well, I'll just say that the season's over then, because we need to do that now.
So I think the tricky thing with 3-gun, and you run into this in some other sports as well, but like when I'm training for an Alaska trip, which is really kind of the only time I ever like trained for climbing, I don't really train in the way that people probably think that I do for climbing. I just do a shitload of climbing like all the time. But if I'm training for Alaska, that actually needs a very different fitness level and, you know, muscular structure than what you need for just like high-end rock or ice climbing, because there's big approaches. There's all this like really physical stuff. You're doing, you know, 20 to 30 hour efforts on things, stuff like that. So I will actually train up for an Alaska trip. And the thing is, like, the training and the performance kind of need to be separate for them to happen at the highest level. So I will train up to Alaska for like 7 months, trying to like have everything line up in peak for this like 2 or 3 week Alaska trip. And then I'm kind of shot afterwards. But one of the things that, you know, my wife and I ran into on this like 15-month climbing trip we took, I actually got weaker as the trip went on. So I had like kind of a peak about 3 months in where I was like, holy shit, I am climbing better than I've maybe ever climbed before in my life. And then I just like slowly tapered off as the trip went on, because you're always doing the thing and you're always training and you're never recovering. And if you have a really deep, you know, competition shooting season, I mean, shit, dude, like the season starts in March and it ends in December. So when is this off season that everybody talks about?
Oh, right. That's kind of what
like, do all this work, you know? So it's like nailing that is super hard, because you need to like, you know, by definition, training is a depleting activity where it will beat up your body and you need time to recover and all these other things. But then you're going from a training cycle directly into a match, directly into a training cycle, directly into a match. It's a super hard thing to nail if for something like this where your season is just kind of ongoing all the time.
Yeah, and like I ran into that with shotgun, you know, the shotgun stuff, and before that, you know, the classification goals. Like in theory, you would train hard for it all the time, and like if you have your eyes on grease, like just because the qualifiers are quote unquote over, like that just started the train up for grease. But like at the same time, it was like you're also running the ragged edge of injuries, and not necessarily like bad injuries, but just like repeated stress injuries.
Oh, just some tennis elbow from quad loading 400 rounds a day.
Yeah, or like I said, like right now my thumb fingernail is almost half ripped off, you know. Or what I really ran into when I was working on classification goals, I had repeated stress injury from my palm of just slamming reloads all the time, you know? So like once I hit it, it kind of had to plateau a little bit, because kind of like I think what you're alluding to, you can't be peaking all the time. So like you do kind of have to go through a recovery phase. And I think as we get older, it becomes more and more important, you know? Varick and John right now, they don't really need much recovery.
Yeah, screw you guys.
Yeah. You know, and I was just like them, you know, like I was ready to hang out and everything at matches. After we were done shooting, I wanted to do more shooting, couldn't get enough shooting. Now it's like, man, I don't feel very social, but I really just want to go back to the hotel, take a shower, and go to bed, you know, because I want to be ready for the next day. And then on the back end of like, you know, of the trip, it's like, it's going to take a couple days when you get home to recover from being in that strange place, eating those strange foods. Maybe you're up and disrupted your sleep schedule. As you go on, that gets more and more important. Or like, or stretching and flexibility. You know, we could get away with not doing that, you know, in our 20s. Where now that's one of the things I credit to my injury. Like now I don't have an option not to stretch. Like,
oh, every day.
Like it's not debilitating.
Mandatory.
It's not debilitating not to, but there are definite consequences of skipping it for too long. And the price of investing in working on mobility is absolutely worth the opportunity cost of not having the mobility in the match, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. I mean, my body now is quite jacked from all kinds of various things. But yeah, I have a pretty extensive list of PT stuff that I have to do on a pretty regular basis. And there was a time where I was like, oh, I rehabbed that injury and now I'm back to normal. And then after that time, there was another time, which is the time I'm living in right now, where it was like, oh, this is permanent. Like, if I don't do the thing, it just falls apart. And that's just all there is to it. So, like, if I don't do freaking band crab walks and some foam roller stuff, I will get heinous IT band issues, and it feels like I'm walking around with a screwdriver stuck in my knee. If I don't do a bunch of stretching on a mat and ground mobility stuff, I will slip a disc. It will just work its way out, and it will go, and I will be complete soup sandwich for like 2 months. It's just the way that it is now. So, like, once you get old enough, like, you have to just keep up on all that stuff. But I think, like, the big picture takeaway here, because I feel like we just gave a whole bunch of very vague advice.
Yeah.
But so, like, no real specific, like, do this exercise action plan. But, like, if you're an athlete to the level that you're able to put together your own training plan, like, I've never had anybody actually build a training plan for me. I've had people, like, help a little bit, but I've never, like, had a training plan built for me. But I'm able to, I've been doing this for long enough in various different sports that I'm able to sort of, like, take a pseudo plan and kind of, like, tailor it to the things that I need. And, you know, I know enough that I can grab, like, 2 kettlebells and go into my living room and just completely destroy myself. You either have that or you don't. And they're like, if you think you need some help, for God's sakes, invest in a trainer. It's super, super worth it. I have seen good trainers turn people around like you would not believe. And if you're not getting the results that you want, just like Maxwell wasn't, don't be afraid to grab somebody else. Like, find a person that understands the sport that you're doing. And if you're like, wow, well, losing weight might sort of kind of help and muscles might sort of kind of help, but if I become a stick figure or if I become a bodybuilder, neither one of those are the physique that I need for 3-gun. Like, go grab somebody else. But I think the other thing is, like, you know, people get really like, oh, I don't want to miss out on any training time for 3-gun or USPSA or NRL or whatever you're shooting. Like, dude, for AMAX, motocross riding is training. And for me, downhill mountain biking is training, because we are getting repetition on super, super fast decision-making process that, I mean, you can kind of get that from practice, but honestly, it's pretty hard to get that outside of, like, an actual match where you're running, like, whole stages, things are coming at you that you don't expect. Like, you're not, that decision-making process doesn't really happen in practice unless you're setting up, like, pretty complicated stuff. And for logistical reasons, I almost never do that. I'm usually setting up, like, max 3 targets, a couple cones laying on the ground. That's kind of a practice session.
Yeah.
But the you know, just because you're taking a break from shooting sports doesn't mean you're taking a break from training. Like, depending on what you're doing, even if it's playing video games, that can be considered cross training if it's applied correctly.
I would say, yeah, if it's applied correctly. Like, that's not like, oh, I'll play video games because I'm going to get better at shooting. No, I don't think so. Yeah. Like, from a physical training standpoint, you need explosive strength and energy. Like, so the exercises that work on that, like I said, in Extremis Performance, they're developing a program like that. That's what I use. And flexibility and recovery. As you get older, it gets more and more important. guys who are way older than us listening to this are like, oh, just you wait. Yeah, I understand. Really, what I'm talking to is people who are 10 years younger than us. Like
you folks in your mid 30s.
Yeah.
Start now.
Mid 30s, mid 20s. I'm in my mid 30s. I'm talking to mid 20s. Like,
how old are you,
I'm
bro?
38.
You're 38? Yep. Dude, I got 8 years on you.
I know, right?
Damn.
But like, it really sucks. It sucks that life is like this. But like, I had to get hurt to learn that. Like, it really sucks that you have to have a hearing damage incident before you take hearing protection seriously. It really sucks that you have to catch some spall in your face before you take eye protection seriously. But like, and that's where I'm at on the flexibility stuff. Like, I wish I could write a letter to me back then. It's like, dude, you really should, work on this, and your life will just be so much better today and down the road. So like cross training wise, like non-negotiables. If I'm home, like it's really hard on the road. That's not an excuse. I stay in specific hotels because they have gym facilities to keep up on this stuff. But
yep.
Flexibility training, non-negotiable, has to be done. If I'm home, I'm weightlifting and doing like the exercise stuff in the gym 3 to 4 times a week. And if I'm home, I'm also doing conditioning on the other days. So I will do a 16-mile bike ride if I don't have a gym session scheduled for that day. That stuff I keep going all the time. Managing your nutrition all the time so that you stay kind of in a good place, like physically, so that your body is used to getting what it needs fuel-wise, and you know how to fuel it properly. That helps when you're on the road. Those are things that are ongoing all the time, just being in some kind of shape, so that I think the barometer for physical training to be ready is that match day should equate to an active rest day. Like, nothing at the match should gas you or wear you out. You should, like, at the end of the day, like, yeah, everybody gets tired at the end of the day. But like when you don't want to get down because your body doesn't like to get down, or like this, there's some challenge that can be presented to you that is a physical challenge to you, that means you are not prepared. Like, you shouldn't be finding things at the match that challenge you physically, like strength wise, and you should be able to output your 90% without hurting yourself or like throwing yourself out for the next 2 days. You shouldn't be able to go all out at the match and then like the day after you're just a mess and laying on the couch trying to recover.
Unless you're shooting the Duskin.
Well, yeah. The Duskin was designed to destroy you, so I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, I'd say the last thing that I would warn people against. In some places with some people, it's very trendy to combine the training part and the shooting part. I would really warn against that. I've seen people like go to the range and lift weights and shoot and lift weights and shoot and throw kettlebells and do that kind of thing. I have never done that, and I would be really hesitant to do that because the more tired you are, the less value you're getting out of those shooting reps. What people tend to do is execute extremely poor technique because they're really tired or they're really, their arms are pumped or whatever. So you essentially get no value out of the shooting portion of that. And all you're doing is just like wasting ammo and burning in really bad reps. So I would, unless there's somebody out there way smarter than me who's come up with a program where that makes sense, I would do your fitness stuff separate from your shooting stuff.
Yeah, my program, I do both in the morning, but I dry fire first and then I work out.
Yeah. Same thing here. Like I got a little trading thing in my basement. It's like, I have a little climbing wall down here because I'm a climber. But I just have like, a bunch of kettlebells and an Aerodyne, essentially, like an assault bike, because you can just destroy yourself with that stuff. And I will never do that first and then dry fire. I'll dry fire and then do my other stuff. Well, cool, buddy. You got anything else for the boys?
I don't think so. I think we covered it.
I think so. I think we're in good shape.
Oh, I guess, cross training wise, I would say dabble in other sports too. I think that's what we missed also. Like, you also do long range, right? So 3-gun isn't your only thing. You also do long range. You also do a little bit of pistol stuff. They're not all the main thing, but participating in those other micro disciplines gives you perspective on the main thing. So I think,
for sure,
when we talk of cross training, without just like totally revving this thing all the way back up again, and we've talked about jumping divisions before. That's a few episodes back. But that's something I do as well. I can't shoot 3-gun all the time. In my area, I do have a lot of access to pistol shooting. So I do a lot of pistol shooting. And I don't just stick to one division in pistol shooting. I don't just shoot my 3-gun pistol. Quite the opposite. I probably shoot something else. So always applying, again, I guess I think of it as, and we talked about this in the division hopping episode, but like applying yourself to different guns is also a bit of a cross training element as well.
Yeah. 100%.
So I like single stack guns, but I also look at it as like applying myself to something foreign so I can come back to the 3-gun guns.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm sure we will do an episode on burnout at some point, but man, if you feel it creeping up, take a break. Nothing sucks worse than burning bright and then just gone one day. We've all seen that. How many people have you seen just absolutely crush for 3 or 4 years and then vanish off the face of the earth?
Oh, I lost count.
Yeah.
I haven't
in the dozens.
I haven't burned out on the sport. I have gone through burnout on the administrative side though. I've definitely burned out on some of that, and that's kind of how I kind of grew a little bit on the administration side of finding other people, bringing other people in. Even when the temptation is to do it all yourself, because if you do it all yourself, you'll burn out hard, and then you might never come back. I actually burned out on, I don't talk about this very much. I burned out on hunting. I was a big hunting guy in middle school, high school. I never missed a weekend of the duck season. I was burned out hard on it. I didn't have a high enough success rate though to like get pay value out of getting up at 3 a.m. and going out on a slough and sitting out in the cold and the wet. And so like one year I was like, you know what, I'm just going to take a break and get the hunger back again. Never came back. So like if you really love the sport and you feel burnout creeping in, like take note of that, because if you really love it, it might really kill your passion for it. And leave a hole. Like I really wish I wouldn't have burned out on that stuff. I really wished I wouldn't have burned out on stage design, but I did. I have very little desire to design stages anymore.
I was going to say you have at least one.
I got one cooking.
You alluded to designing stages for the next nationals. So,
but I start having that recurring nightmare of the empty bay. I have the empty bay, Cody West and Connor Speece asking me what we're gonna build. I'm like,
yeah, don't get there. Oh man. All right. Well, it is 10 o'clock where Mr. Maxwell is, and I have stuff to do as well. Hey Max, it's your episode today. You want to bring us out, buddy?
Well, everybody, make sure you cross train, keep fresh, keep fit, keep those overlays handy. This has been On the Perf, and we'll catch you all next time.